Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Dispensing Chemical Admixtures in Concrete. We have some brief housekeeping before we start. Your phones are on mute, and if you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box in the corner of your screen, and we'll answer them at the end of today's session, time permitting, or via an email after. And you can always send questions to mapeidigital@mapei.com. Now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce today's speaker, Paul Jordan. Paul is a Northeast Technical Services representative with MAPEI. His career in chemical admixtures spans over 40+ years. He has applied his knowledge and experience throughout the U.S., Canada, and abroad, assisting and educating others in the concrete industry. Like many others, he began his career fresh out of Penn State University, knowing very little about the concrete industry, let alone chemical admixtures. He says he began by learning the hard way, by making many mistakes, but by learning from each of them. And it's that valuable getting your hands dirty in the field experience that he's going to share with us today. And I know that we're going to benefit from his wisdom. And with that, I welcome him to the microphone. PJ, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jen. Afternoon, everyone. Appreciate everybody's time today. It's like Jen said, it's been around a long time, and a lot of people understand the concrete industry. A lot of them don't understand how chemical admixtures are dispensed into a ready-mix truck, a precast mixer, a block plant, or a block mixer. So MAPEI had decided that maybe the seminar could be beneficial to others on understanding more of the dispenser systems that we have to offer. But what are they? But quite typically, they're just a direct feed or a manual feed system that's designed for use in a concrete plant. And these can be designed and can be built with electric or electric air supply, or can just be interfaced within the batch computer of the batch plant. Today's technology is tremendous because they're not as complicated as they were. Now we have multicolored wires that we can interface, and it's basically trouble-free. Concrete plants are filthy. Block plants are filthy. Precast plants are filthy. So all this equipment, even though it's in a cabinet, some of it is not all in a cabinet. The electronics are, but the pneumatic part of a dispenser is typically within the environment of a batch plant, and it gets very, very dirty quickly and dusty. And with fly ash and cement, it's very fine. So it does make its way into these components, and they have to be replaced. And the last thing you want a producer to do is break down, because that's time lost, and that's concrete not produced. So these are really important aspects to us. The admixture dispenser, the solutions, like I said, there's interface. It's just automatic. They press a button, everything works in conjunction with the batch plant. There's semi-automatic, and that means we can dial in a dosage rate of admixture we want, press a button, or manually, which is a lot of times we use that outside in the a large project or a road project, and it's a 3-position valve. You press it down to fill it, and you push it up to discharge it. Very quick, and it's air operated. The capabilities are very low in minute dosages, and then very high. In other words, we can pump 20 gallons of a high earlier, an accelerator in a ready-mix truck in a very short period of time. And the reliability is very dependable and serviceable by our dispenser technicians. The components of a dispenser system is self-contained, maybe in a cabinet, a metal cabinet. The photograph on the right is a project. It's a Amazon project in Wilmington, Delaware, and that red container is our dispenser trailer. It's a cargo box. We have the tanks. We have the dispensers mounted in there. And this is the kind of setup that we have to supply the producer because he has no room for bottles in that trailer. And that trailer behind it is basically the batch plant. These Connex boxes are relatively inexpensive. We own many of them. Most of them are down in South Carolina in the regional manager's area, who was basically, he's responsible for the painting and insulated, but they're insulated, they're fully heated. It has to be up the Northeast. And a camera monitor system is directly at the bottles. So, and it's wireless nowadays, which is really pretty convenient for everybody. And it gives the operator an idea. He can see the bottles fill and discharge. But if there's an error, a bottle doesn't fill or doesn't discharge, he can't go into the next mix. So he knows that error has to be corrected. The components, and this is the cabinets, which are very nice because it has all the electronics in it, as you can see, and it has a cabinet door, which is clear. Is it dust proof? No, but it keeps the majority of the contaminants out. The metal cabinet's ready to hang. It's built just like that. It comes in a box. It's basically plug and play and run your hoses, hook your hoses to the bottom, you're ready to go. Components are individuals or dispensers are installed anywhere where it's available. If nothing's available, we'll bring a Connex box, any a 40-footer or 20-footer, it really doesn't matter. The measuring bottles, the pumps, the valves, the meters are all included. So this is something we provide the producer for doing business with MAPEI. All dispenser systems are air, electric, or simply air, like the road projects, hard to get electric, except with the generator. So typically it's all air, and outfitted with the correct size bottles and pumps. So these pumps are bottles depending upon if it's ready mix, precast, is it an accelerator? Is it a non-chloride accelerator? Is it a water reducer? So all those bottle sizes mean something to the producer and it means something to us. The interface system, as you can see, that is the interface box on the top left of the photograph. And these are designed to interface our cable to the producer's computer, batch computer. It's very handy nowadays too. Again, makes it simple because we use a 30 conductor wire that's all different colors. So it's difficult to put the wrong wire in the wrong terminal because everything is color coded. You have to look pretty hard at some of the colors because they all blend together sometimes, and you have to pay attention and you have to concentrate. But it makes it so much easier now for everyone. And the liability of maybe putting the wire on the wrong terminal, it's not going to do any damage, I don't believe. I'm not the dispenser man, but I would say it's just not going to work. So you have to go back and you've got to hunt. But we can manufacture and customize about anything a producer needs, just like this. The operation of the dispenser panel basically is a fill and discharge, and they're all by signals, electronic pulses. These output and pulse, they run a meter, and the meter and pulses turns into basically ounces per hundredweight of cement to us. So it's a dosage rate that we're looking for. And these are automatically, and these are put in manually at the batch plant when their batch computer is set up. So we're putting in ounces in, we're putting ounces per hundredweight in. Sometimes we're putting gallons. But if he's not equipped with the batch controller, we have a full line of the automatic controllers to make it much easier. And then we can add interfacing later on if we need to. Manual dispensers, exactly that. It's very simple. You can three-position valve, down to fill, up to discharge, and you just watch the sight gauge on the right-hand side, and it fills and it discharges. It's very simple. It's very inexpensive, but there are the types that you'd like to have on road projects or direct feed systems, which we'll talk about very shortly. And of course, electronics, they drive everything, the interface boards. The brains, and they're so reliable. I mean, these little things, it's with the soldering and how they do it, I don't know. But let me tell you, they are pretty amazing to see, and everything happen with lights and how it all comes together. But it's very serviceable. They're basically plug and play. One board goes out, we pull it out, we put another one in. I think it's that easy, and it's that simple. And the tasks of these boards are incredibly dependable and independent of each other. So each admixture has a board just like this to control the service of the admixture as it dispenses and discharges. Touch control makes it real simple. A lot of people just like the touch screen. To each his own. I mean, if they want a touch screen, they can touch the amount of ounces they want. They can hit a button for discharge, and away it goes. So a lot of people, instead of using a mouse, they'd rather use their fingers. So we have these available. The screen size is anywhere from 5.5 to 15 inches. So it can handle up to 8 products. And I think maybe if you needed 10 products, you can do 10. But typically, it's going to be 5 admixtures in a common ready-mix company, and maybe as many as maybe 6, but typically 5 is a good choice. But these are very handy for the people who just like to do them themselves. They don't like the electronics. They don't like how everything works behind the scenes. They want to see it happen. So this is a good way of showing them. This is a road project that I spoke about, and that is a portable dispenser next to the tanks. And that's a non-caloric accelerator superset. This is on Route 81 in Pennsylvania. And this is the type of a project you need to have a set accelerator for accelerated paving. Basically, they're placing concrete down on the shoulder, and then they're putting blacktop on it 2 days later. So this accelerator is, because of the batch plant could be as much as 15 miles away, they batch the concrete and we add the set accelerator on the site and then remix and then discharge on site. So this is why these 3,000-gallon tanks of superset become very handy. There's also the possibility they'll use a high-range water reducer, which is basically a chemical that instead of a 3-inch or a very tight slump, just takes it to a 5 or 6-inch slump with adding water. It's just the chemistry of the product that allows more workability. And high volume pumps, and I'll go back to the other one, you see that high volume pump right in front of that tote. That's a 1-inch pump, and those things produce and put out so much admixture in a short period of time. They're loud, and they just chug and gulp this admixture, the accelerator up and into back to the truck. And there is a counter there that passes through a meter, and we know how much admixture is going into that truck. But these dispensers are run by ATC counters and flow meters. So basically, they're counting the flow of admixture through the meters, sending a pulse to a counter, and that's what we see. But they're extremely dependable, and it's the only way to do a large site or large project that's off-site, doesn't have power, doesn't have much of anything. You bring in a compressor, and you're good to go. And there's another picture of it. That's a close-up, and it's a wheel dolly. If you look at it, folks, I mean, it's got the big pump, it's got a meter above the pump. It has a ball valve to the left of it, and it's got an ATC counter. So you can see, excuse me, you can see these counters are very capable of doing a whole lot in a very short period of time. Now, obviously, that pump can be changed to a half-inch pump for a water reducer or a high-range water reducer, but they are very dependable and easy to get around. You can use it as a 3-position valve and hang a bottle on that instead of an ATC counter. So the remote out-of-the-way projects with no supply, this is ideal setup for them. Again, at the bottom of the slide is the road projects to hire early, and this is what we need because we need high volume of admixture in a very short period of time. Direct feed systems are exactly what they are. There's no bottles, and basically there's the only counter involved is the batch counter. Now we can put a direct feed on a remote project, but these are just direct feed, no bottles, and a counter, and they just blow the admixture into the concrete, and it's ready to go. Nothing special, just a meter, a pump, and sometimes a counter. But if it goes into a bottle, that's fine. But typically it's only a counter, ATC counter, that primarily just measures the flow of admixture through the meter, and it shows up on the counter. So these are extremely important for us because, you know, the polychem superset, diamide chloride, and polychem HE, the chloride are very important with these projects. And even though, you know, a lot of states are allowing HE, the chloride, because there's no steel involved. All it is dense concrete. So as long as there's no steel involved, they try to go away at the, I guess, lower cost. It's much cheaper than our chlorides, but everything has worked very well. So there's been no issues so far. But they automatically will shut down if there is a flow problem or through the meter, and they will shut down. So there's no, we don't have to be there. We can have a producer, one of their employees there, quality control, or we can teach them. And they produce, and this goes all day long too. I mean, this is from 7 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night. So, excuse me. So everybody has to do their share. We teach them and they do us a favor. But typically they're wonderful people that do it, and you can depend on them. Portable dispensers are a cold weather factor. It gets cold a lot of places in the US. So in the Northeast, even in the South, where everybody likes to feel warm and fuzzy in Deerfield Beach, Florida, but we don't have that luxury most of the time, 5 months out of the year anyway. But these can be heated, and they're self-contained. Basically, we can put them outside, and a bulb basically keeps everything nice and warm, and it's self-contained. So that constant power has to be on, obviously, for reasons, unless you can disconnect it and then put it in a warm environment in a trailer or whatever. A lot of times we prefer not to put in our dispensers when we obtain a new customer, because it's a lot of work. Typically it's a Saturday night, all day Saturday night, and it could be a Friday, or into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because we have to tear their equipment down, put our equipment in. And it makes it much easier. If their equipment is in good shape, we buy that equipment from our competitor. Now, our competitor, he could decide, I'm going to make this really miserable for you, and I'm going to take my stuff down and I make you put new equipment in. And that happens, unfortunately, and they try to make life very difficult for us. But typically, it's not a big issue. Typically, it is just, we just buy their dispenser equipment and everybody's happy. So, and that's what we count on. And that's where we are at the end, Jen.
Yes, we are. Thank you. So we have some questions, actually, PJ. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. All right. The first question. What are the typical qualifications needed to become dispenser service technicians with MAPEI?
That's a great question. I don't think there's any qualifications. Dispenser techs are people that they don't mind getting their hands dirty, number one. They have some plumbing experience, maybe some electronic background, but we do send them to school, to Oklahoma, to a very good school for a week, and they get very good training in that matter period of time. And I'm not saying they get it thrown, pushed down their throat, but they get very good training and understanding. And we have a lot of senior dispenser techs who've been doing this a long time. And they're always there when they need help. Even if they're from, we have a senior dispenser tech in South Carolina. He was just here yesterday. So he drives a long way to help a younger dispenser tech that we have here in Pennsylvania. So there's always somebody there to help. And he's never on his own. If he has questions, he's not sure, he has to ask a question. But they're liability, they need to be reliable. They have to wake up in the morning. A lot of young kids like to stay in bed, and we like young people. I mean, and they have a hard time getting up in the morning, and they don't know what going to bed at 9 o'clock is. They go to bed at 1 a.m. So, they have to get up, and they have to be reliable. They do, MAPEI does offer a great package, a benefit package, obviously, in a vehicle, company pickup. So as long as you have the personality, you get along with people, and you have drive, MAPEI is willing to talk to anybody.
The perils of being a grown-up, PJ.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Oh, here's a good question. What is the cost of a dispenser system?
Nothing. 90% of the time that this is part of the package that MAPEI offers. Producer buys our admixtures. We in turn supply them with the dispensers, everything. They don't have to pay for hose. They don't have to pay for anything. They don't have to pay for service. It is, that is just the program the admixture industry has been in for the last 35 years, 40 years, and it stayed, and it hasn't moved. So it's a big investment for us, anywhere from say $10,000 to $18,000, depending on how much equipment is purchased and installed. But typically it's no cost. There are some producers that like to have the ability to service their own equipment and own their own equipment. So if another admixture company comes in and takes over, they say, you don't touch this, this is our stuff. So it's no mess. There's no mess to be made, and they're happy with all the dispensers they have. All they have is supply the admixture. That's it.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
All right. Another question. Is it a good idea to have a backup system in place in case the primary system breaks down?
Another good question. I think it's all about location, location, location. If it is a project or a producer that's in maybe 5 hours, 6 hours away, a backup system probably is a pretty good idea. One system goes down, they can just turn a switch and the other system activated until we can get up there, dispenser techs can get up there to fix the first system. the primary system. Most cases, that's not the case because we're pretty responsive, but there's a lot of times that we can't be real responsive. And producers are very self-sufficient. They have mechanics, they have quality control people, they have hands-on people that really can limp through a problem until we get there. And typically we know and identify what's wrong, and we can walk them through it until we get there. So that's basically the short of it. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, I don't see that there are any more questions popping up. I'll give the audience just a few more minutes to type in.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, if any questions do arise, if during the course of the day you think of something, you can always send them to us here at MAPEI Digital at mapei.com, and we'll be sure to forward them on to PJ. In the meantime, I guess this will conclude today's webinar, and thank you, PJ, for a great presentation. And thank you all, everybody, for joining us. We know that you have very busy days, and we appreciate the fact that you took some time to spend part of it with us.
My pleasure. Hope there'll be many more, maybe about time.
Yes.
There we go.
Exactly. We'll look forward to seeing that again, PJ.
This is a tough subject. Yes, it is.
Yep. 100%. The first of many. Thank
There
you.
you go. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thanks for your
Have
time.
a good rest of your afternoon. Bye.
Bye-bye.